Hello everyone and welcome back to La Vida Fútbol. My name is Luis Laureano. I'm a UEFA B licensed coach. Today's video we're going to be talking about the 4-2-3-1 striker, and we're going to be looking into the position of the number 9 in this formation. We're going to discuss the different movements, the different actions, the different type of activities that this player will be doing in a match. For the opponents, we are not going to set up a full formation, but we will have 6 players including the goalkeeper here to be acting as defenders. The ideas and concepts here can be set up into activities for a training session, for example. So we're going to have a 4-2 formation, and this 4-2 formation of course can represent several things. The 4 players in the back of course represents the back line of 4, and this is very typical with different types of formations such as the 4-2-3-1, for example, the 4-4-2, the 4-3-3, the 4-3-2-1, and so on and so forth. Having the 6 players defend can be, like I said, set up in a training session, especially if you don't have enough players to put a whole team together. But again, it doesn't really matter because the one thing that we're working on here is the actions of this number 9. Okay, so let's begin. First, we're going to start off with the build-up. And this, of course, is assuming some best case scenarios because obviously there's a full team there, but some of the actions here can definitely be employed in a match. And again, we're just looking at the different types of movements that we would do with the number 9. Okay, so during a build-up, it's going to be important to look at the type of tactics that a team plays. So a typical striker, of course, would be big and be really good at aerial balls. Direct play is possible. For direct play, we would need the back line of 4 to be a bit higher up the pitch. So in order to do that, we would have to essentially drop a little bit, drop our 6 and 8, 7 and 11 to about the halfway line. And then the striker can be in line with the number 10 or just a little bit ahead. Again, it just depends on the type of actions that are seeking to play. So during direct play, for long balls, if you are playing directly to the number 9, then it would be wise to switch your 9 and 10 for a direct long ball, meaning the pass is intended to go to the number 9. But the reason we have this setup is so that the number 10 can drop, get the number 4 to pinch, and then in that moment of pinch is when the long ball comes. So typically the rule is you send a diagonal ball and you have a straight run forward. So that would be the concept here. So a diagonal ball, boom, directly into the run, and then of course you will have the number 5 there to put the pressure on. But again, this is best case scenario. This is just a movement. This is just an action that is possible. Ideally, if I am the other team, I would not allow this to happen. But if that is the concept, then it would have to be done with the 9 and 10 being a little bit staggered, a little bit offset, not necessarily in a line, so that one player can drop back, and in that time of dropping, the other player switches forward and goes into attack. Another thing is, like I said, if the number 9 is a really big player and is good with aerial balls, then using the number 9 to win the potential first or second ball. Meaning, so if there's a long ball, for example, directly to the kickoff location, the number 9 will step in and most likely be battling either the number 6 or the number 8 for a header, or the 5 or the 4. One of the center backs could also put that pressure on as well since they're coming from behind. But that long ball would be intended to the number 9 simply to drop off to the number 8, the number 6. This is of course depending on which player is defending and which player has left their mark, and also executing a pass so that if one of the center backs or both center backs pinch, that it's a header over that back line so that the number 10 can recover that pass and then essentially attack and goal. Okay, but I also said that it's not only for the first ball but also for the second, meaning if the number 9 is going to be challenged throughout the game, meaning it's not easy to win the first ball, then getting in a position where you can essentially have 2 players cover you so that there is a player free. So it's possible that we don't win the first ball, but because it is challenged, the ball has the potential to essentially go to different places on the pitch. Now, why is that important? That is important because should we have 2 players defend us, this would essentially mean that one of our players is essentially open. And most likely it's going to be one of the center defensive midfielders, either the 6 or the 8, and it's going to be important for these players to be activated when that happens. So, or get close to 2 defenders, or getting close to one of the center defensive midfielders, but also staying a little bit farther behind, at least enough so that the center back also comes up and picks up that mark as well. There you have 2 against 1, and of course it's possible that you don't win the ball, but that is not the main objective here. Of course, if we do, then we try to aim that pass into one of our players like we just previously discussed, either dropping it back to the number 6 or the number 8 depending on who's open or depending on what is possible because of the coverage. But if the center backs come to defend, then trying to get that over their heads, having our number 10 essentially run into attack. Okay, but again, here the challenge, and after that scuffle shuffle, we try to have our open player who doesn't have a mark get ready for that next ball. And in this case, the second ball is what we will be trying to win. So this is for direct play. This is, of course, if you do have these tall, big players that are good with aerial balls. Now, not all teams have that possibility. Not all teams have one big player, and sometimes they do have a big player, but they are not a striker and play farther back, for example, in the midfield. So it just depends on the type of players you have. We will be discussing now, if you don't have a player like that, then most likely you will be trying to build up and essentially using one of your players from up top, either the center attacking midfielder or the number 9 as a decoy. What does that mean? Well, that means that, for example, let's say, because we're talking about the striker in this video, we're going to focus on the striker being the decoy, and that would be essentially this. So we have shifted over to one side here with the number 5 on the right side and teaming up with the 11 placed in between the 4 and the 3. If we can get a direct pass from the center back to this number 9, then our number 2 would be there ready to get the ball back. And then in this situation, we try to come up a little bit, and because we have these two players that are trying to figure out who's going to defend, if this number 3 comes to defend us, then we try to get that pass over to the number 11. Okay, so in this situation, it's acting as a decoy. So first getting the ball, passing it back, and then going again as if we're going to get another pass, but using that movement to create space on the outside so that our number 11 can try to get the ball and then essentially run up the pitch and try to get across. Or if they are in a position to shoot, or if they can get in a position to shoot, then of course that they shoot. But now when this happens, if the pass is able to get through to the number 11, the number 9's task is not yet done, because as soon as that pass leaves the foot of the number 2 and gets to the number 11, we should already be in rotation, getting over to the center, to that penalty area, running straight into goal, so that if the pass comes from number 11, we are there either to play it first time in the goal or get some sort of rebound, or essentially just to create more frustration for the center backs there, so that it's not so easy for them to clear the ball should a ball not get to us or we not get to the ball. So then it's important that this happens. Now, if we kind of set up in that same situation, let's take a look here. We are again trying to get in between the 4 and the 3, and if our number 2 and our 11 are up the pitch and there is a gap, meaning we pass to the number 2, one of their players opens up, goes back to the center back, and if we can get it somewhere around here and both of these players hesitate to defend, then of course we would need some sort of direction and command from our players to essentially turn around and then play the ball forward. So now if we're facing forward, that is great, and especially if our number 9 is not a big player, then most likely that player would be better facing forward with the ball. But if it is a big player, then having player in the back shouldn't be a problem. So if we have that space to turn around, we will turn around, especially if it's a technical player. It's going to be important that they can manage this movement. And then again, when this happens, we try to get one player to bite, and when that happens, we play to the outside and again immediately run to the center of the pitch, where we try to get the cross and then score in the goal. Okay, so I have readjusted the situations here and we are now in the opponent's corner kick. So in this particular situation here, we have the number 9 as the player that remains on top. Here, as we can see, it's a 2 versus 1. Usually, depending on what has been working for this particular team in the past, will probably be the way which how the team continues, meaning that this player here, where I have the number 9, could just be the fastest player, for example, or the most technical player, or just the striker because it's the striker, right? You know, that's the player that scores the goals. That's the player that we're going to be giving the opportunity to help us get a goal at the end. But if you have a big, tall striker, then he or she, in this case, would probably be helping on the defense, just because they're probably good with aerial balls, and obviously defensively we don't want to concede any goals. That could also be a determinant as to where the number 9 is. But for this particular video, we're going to have the number 9 be the player that's on top, and we're just going to discuss some of the actions that could occur in this situation here. So as we can see here, the ball is going to be from this point of view, the left side, and usually there is a player that is at the top of the box closer to the ball, a player that is on top of the box away from the ball, also depending on how many players are attacking. So for example, if there are 2 players in the back and only 1 covering the center, for example here the number 8 drops down as well, then most likely the number 8 would also help out or be a little bit closer or even inside the box there. But we're going to just say that they have 2 players that remain on the outside. So here the role of the number 9 is, if they get the ball, to do a couple things. Obviously we want to advance, but in a 2 versus 1 situation it would be quite difficult, especially in the middle. Having to take on 1 player would already be heavy work, just because if you're in the middle you have to go to the outside, and of course the goal is in the middle of the pitch, so that's already some issues there. For example, let's say the number 3 was just out of position when we get the ball here. This is obviously off a corner kick. So let's say there's a clearance here and it goes right into the number 9. That would have to be very precise. So that's very unlikely. But if this were to happen and there was a 1 versus 1 situation, even if our number 9 is to get through, let's say around the number 2, it would have to first go to the outside, either left or right, around the player, because obviously we cannot go through the player. Even if it's through the legs, we still have to run around the player, but most likely the defender would be in a staggered position. The only way that would be possible is if the ball goes through the legs, but it would be running diagonally. Okay, so around the player, and then this player has a straight line back to the goal, so their distance to coverage is actually shorter than the distance of the attacker going towards goal. But even in that time of movement, the rest of the team would already be coming down to essentially assist. Now, what can you do? Of course, if the opportunity is there and you know that your striker is faster than the defender that's covering in the back, then we take our chances. We obviously encourage the striker to take that move and to go on a one-on-one and try to win that foot race to the goal. So that is possible. I'm not saying that it shouldn't be tried. Of course it should, but I'm just saying that's just one possible option. Another one is if they get the ball in the center, on the outside here to the left, or on the outside here to the right, that they hold it with enough power and strength to hold off the defenders and giving the players here in the middle time to help out. Also the players on the outside to run out and also to help out, forcing the defenders to pressure there. And a quick action here would be the number 9 dropping to the 11 and then running. Hopefully the 11 in this play is fast enough to pass the ball before we cross the line. Otherwise it's an offsides if the number 2 is at the line. So timing is important here, but most likely the number 2 would already be dropping back, and of course the 4 and 5 would already be on their way back. But that is one possibility, getting the ball, holding it and passing to the outside, and then the number 11 in this case passing it directly down the line, the number 9 recovering here on the outside, and depending on the defensive positioning of the opponents would determine whether we go towards goal or we hold it, allow the number 11 to help out again, or the center to help out. Either way, the players should decide what to do depending on what is presented. Another thing would be to hold the ball, hold off the defenders, and then having the 11 act like a decoy, and then passing to the number 8, opening up either this way, allowing the number 8 to dribble or take a touch to the right so that they make a pass through, or after we drop the ball back, open up this way just to have the number 3 open up just a little bit and then play the ball behind the number 3, allowing the 11 to go, or passing the ball here, opening up. If the number 3 doesn't help out, getting it and then passing it to the outside, or even passing it to the back and then just resetting. Just again, it's all based on what's happening. You got to remember, this is coming off a corner kick, so everything that happens in this situation is essentially at high speed, happening really fast, and it's important to make precise moves. More often than not, defenders will really work hard to hold the attackers, and that makes it very difficult to progress. So sometimes it's just wise to play it back and reset and allow the team to get back into position. But in football, the disorganization of the opponents is the time that where we would like to attack. So the first thought should be for the number 9, find a way to attack. If they have a player that's helping out on the outside, then getting that player involved, or at least using that player as a decoy, meaning running or taking a few movements in the direction of the player, just enough to move the defenders and then going back the other way and then attacking the goal. So where do you stand? Of course, this is based on where the ball is. I tend to have my strikers be on the opposite side of where the ball is being played from. So in this case, if the ball is on the left side, then I would have the number 9 be more to the right side. So the reason for that is because when the ball comes here, normally we want to play the ball out this way, or if we head the ball, that we want to head it out behind these 2 players, right? Of course, if the front half gets the ball, then they would just clear it out forward, and then we allow these players to be the ones to play it, and then that would just give the number 9 time to cross over. But if the ball goes over, hit it out, and then hopefully one of these 2 players can be the one to play it directly to the number 9, and then from there do some of the actions that we just talked about. 8 helps out, 11 runs out immediately, drop the ball back, 8 or 11, or if we have some time, turn it around ourselves, and then use the help as it's presenting itself. Okay, so that is it for this video. I hope it helps. Just some ideas, some movements, some actions that you can do as a striker. There are a lot more situations that we can cover, of course, but those are some typical movements and actions that we can work with in the 4-2-3-1 formation, and then also during a corner kick situation. Okay, so I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, kick that like button, and if you have any ideas as to another video that I can make or a topic that I can discuss, comment that in the comment section below. Remember, subscribe. Thank you guys for supporting this channel, and see you guys next time. Ciao, ciao.